Well, I bet you didn't expect to see me back so soon. Yes, it's Friday, the 11th of July of 2025. Yes, it's my first video of this year. I just filmed the first opening bits of that, unsure as to whether I was actually going to do this video because, well, as you can probably tell, I do not have the best setup at the moment. Uh, I'll get more into that here at another time, why it is that the audio sounds basically substandard. But nevertheless, I wanted to post this right quick. Just a little miniature book review, if you like. Not necessarily review, but I suppose just giving my thoughts on a book that I just recently read, which evidently took me 3 years to actually get around to reading. And you can see I'm in the library here. There's quite a few books that are out of place, mainly because I'm running out of space. I need to put some more shelves up in order to house these things. But nevertheless, it took me around 3 years to actually get around to reading this book. As you can see, I'm in the Arthur Conan Doyle section of the library, and the book in question is one of his earlier works, or it's actually, no, it is one of his earlier works, and it's right here. You can probably see it's called the Stark Munro Letters. This here is the, I guess, Conan Doyle Centennial series that they did back in the 80s for some reason. I don't know why it was the 80s, but nevertheless, because Conan Doyle was born in 1859, and they didn't put this out till 1986 or so, but it's a Conan Doyle Centennial series, but you can see that's a nice little frontispiece there with the man himself, and there's the title page. Stark Munro Letters being a series of 16 letters written by J. Stark Munro to his friend and former fellow student Herbert Swanborough of Lowell, Massachusetts, during the years 1881 to 1864. Basically what this is an epistolary novel, or epistolary novel. I'm not entirely sure exactly how to pronounce that word because, well, it technically, I'm not entirely even sure if it's in the official lexicon yet, because it's a fairly recent term to my vocabulary anyway, and I've heard various pronunciations of it over the years, so I really couldn't tell you as to what the correct pronunciation is. But nevertheless, the Stark Munro Letters. I'll talk more about the plot here once I get to the reason why it took me 3 years to read this. Well, you can see there's a very nice edition, the Conan Doyle Centennial edition or series, and I saw this at one of the libraries in one of the counties, or in the county in which I live, and several years ago. This was actually during the time when I was desperate to read anything because I just couldn't read or write because, well, you folks know why. I don't need to get into it. I'd rather not relate it because, well, it's needless at this stage. But anyway, so I was browsing the fiction section and saw this in the library here. Well, not here, but I saw the library there. And I realized this is a Conan Doyle that I've not yet read. I've read about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 of his novels, and I don't know how many of his short stories yet. And it's my mission in this life to read everything that he's ever written because obviously he's my favorite writer. In fact, I did do a video. I'm going to go off into a tangent here. I did do a video last year or the year before last, I think, in which I had uplifted 3 other writers in favor of Conan Doyle, and that video, I still think those writers, I think very highly of them. I believe that they're Jack London, Charles Dickens, and Stephen Crane. But I tell you, I always go back to Conan Doyle, and really, I seem to come off as kind of condescending in that video. And whilst I do respect those writers highly, I am very sorry, Arthur, for the very severe slight that I have put against you in that. I never should have done that at all, and I'll still keep that video up because I do respect those writers highly, but there's none above you. So let's settle that debate. Anyway, so it was my mission to read basically everything by him, and I found this in September of 2021, and that's just a children's, I guess, abridgment of the King Kong novelization. I found this at the library in September 2021, and at this particular library, it takes about, what is it? You have about maybe 10 times that you could actually renew a book or auto renew a book. So basically, at least where I live, the renewal time for books is about maybe 3 weeks, after which time you are slotted for another, and it basically runs until you're out of opportunities to renew the book. So it's about, well, I don't do maths. You know that I'm horrible at maths, so you can probably figure out how many weeks that is. And checking out the same book for the past 3 years and just not reading it because, well, to be fair, at the time I was a devilishly slow reader, and I couldn't do anything because, you know, several things kept coming up. The environment of the house had changed drastically, and I just couldn't do it. But nevertheless, I finally checked it back in to that library about a few weeks back, and ended up buying a copy because, well, in all probability, I'm going to have everything by Conan Doyle in my library at some point. So I figured I may as well buy it, and I found a cheap copy. So that's enough of that. So the actual plot of this story, and let's get a shot of this for the thumbnail, why not? The actual plot of this story is basically, it follows a correspondence between, well, actually, it's really sort of a one-way correspondence between, you know, this young Dr. Jace Dark Munro and his student, basically relating, I guess, his coming up in the profession and whatnot. It's very humorous at stages. I must say, of all the books that I've read by Conan Doyle, this may well be his most philosophical, because there are endless tangents and just observations on religion, and the idea of fate and providence figures hugely in this book. And there's a lot about him basically departing from his innate religion, which is Catholicism, and going into a more sort of spiritual sort of mindset, which is very much akin to Conan Doyle's journey. And this is also illustrated, you can see, throughout. And there's lots of humorous episodes throughout. I won't necessarily detail all of them because, you know, you can just read it for yourself if you really wanted to. But nevertheless, this book, I would say, is near great. It's it definitely has the most, shall we say, philosophical depth of any of Conan Doyle's books that I've read, with the exception, obviously, of the magisterial Lost World, which I speak of endlessly on this channel and will continue to. But if you want to know basically what Conan Doyle's early practices were like in the medical field before he became a writer, evidently one of the subplots in this is that the narrator is suggested by someone to write a novel, and he ends up doing so. Then read this book, because this is very heavily influenced by his term as a medical man, and you can very much tell. In fact, one of the details in here is that one of the characters is said to go on an ocean liner to South America, even though in real life Conan Doyle, I believe, went to South Africa. And I'm just randomly flipping through this book to find more illustrations. But let's see. There's one here. They're not great illustrations, I must admit, but you know, they're illustrations nonetheless. And there we go. Some women. And curiously, this book seems to be almost like a prequel, shall I say, or prefiguration of The Lost World, because a lot of the same literary devices that are used in The Lost World are used in this book. And this was written in 1895, that came out in 1912, and for instance, there are several instances in which the narrator uses a part of one or another character's speech to characterize them. Particularly this, I suppose, friend and adversary Cullingworth, who's also in the profession as well. Very similar to how Ed Malone basically characterizes Roxton in The Lost World there, basically pretty much transposing his talk and giving a little explanation after that. Also, there is some evidence of, there's heavy implications that something is happening in South America, which obviously, as you know, South America is the setting of The Lost World there, and one of the characters ends up going to South America by the end of this book. That's not really a spoiler, but nevertheless. And just the general... this is really hard to explain without actually doing a thorough breakdown, which I'm not going to do at this time. But it's just stylistically, this is, I suppose, the literary antecedent to this. And in that sense, it's an important work to read if you are indeed looking to read everything by Conan Doyle. I won't say too much more about the book at this stage because I just finished it, and this isn't really a book review. This is just sort of giving you my thoughts on the matter. But after 3 years of not reading this, I'm glad that I did in fact read it. I enjoyed it immensely. I had extracted quite a lot of information from it that I will indeed use in my own writing in terms of characterization and just general wisdom too. This happens to be one of Conan Doyle's not only just philosophically deep, but just wise and learned books out there. There are bits of wisdom in this that rival some nonfiction work. And it can be a bit dense at times in terms of the religious angle. I will admit that. But if you go into the work knowing that, you're going to just get an unadulterated account of basically what was Conan Doyle's early start in the medical field, I'm sure you could probably forgive that. But nevertheless, those are my thoughts anyway at this stage on the Stark Munro letters by Arthur Conan Doyle. And I may consider making another video here soon with this inferior camera. Trust me, I plan on explaining why it is that the video sounds like this. I forgot to mention the time. I always mention the time in these videos, and I never did this time, but it's 9:42 in the morning. I'm a bit rusty at this. I haven't made a video in 8 months. Please forgive me. I do have a reason for it, and I will be detailing that here soon. I don't know when that'll be, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a good morning, midday, afternoon, evening, midnight, whenever you plan on seeing this. Remember when I used to say that? And I might make, like I said, I do have plans for other videos as well, but I just thought I'd check in to tell you that I am alive and well, actually exceedingly well. I'll get more into that here fairly soon, but nevertheless, that's all I have to say, and cheers.